Alright, so I got a crazy episode going on. Just want to make sure everything is all set, everything is all good. We are live right now, and people can hear me fine, so I think it's all good, and now we can go ahead and get things started. Oh, actually, one more thing. Just want to make sure, don't want to hear a little bit of an echo, so now we're fine, now we're calm, now we're good, now we're all ready. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another insane episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And this week, let me tell ya, I have found some strange oddities when it comes to many of the news stories that we got this week. Now, I know last week we had a lot of fun, especially with some of the meme stories like with Big Chungus. Well, let me tell ya, with this one, I got a whole bunch of varieties of animation news that we could definitely have as much fun as we had with that one. So this is definitely going to be a lot of fun, so strap yourselves in because we are about to get into a true crazy episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So let me just go ahead and ask right now, chat wall, are you guys all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Because I definitely sure am. Alright, let's see now. Do we have people ready? Alright, yep, we got some people ready. They're prepared. Okay, perfect. I see that we're all set, we're all ready, and now let's go ahead and we shall get things started. And I shall start off by going into my first story, and I just want to ask something for you guys that I know that we have had some updates regarding this story, and I just want to say right now though, please do not get ahead too quickly because yes, I will get onto them. I know that there have been a lot of things that have developed, but I am taking this one step at a time, and I have practiced this a whole lot to make sure that I could tell a pretty cohesive story with the events that I am about to show you, because this was something that had a lot of people talking about throughout the week. And it started off with something that a lot of people thought it was such a stupid idea, but it seems like somebody might actually go and make it. And what I'm talking about is actually a Funko movie. Yes, apparently, according to a Twitter user by the name of Daniel Richman, who is a writer of Super Bro Movie, apparently he has leaked a series of images that allegedly came from Warner Animation Group, and it revealed that one of the movies that they have coming up that has yet to even be announced was actually a live-action animation hybrid based on the Funko figures. Now, if you guys don't know, Funko is the company that would make all the figurines based on pop culture elements. You might have seen people with collections of them. Even you might have some collections yourselves. The most popular brand that they actually have made is the Funko Pop series. So you might have a few Funko Pop figures yourself. And yes, it's actually those Funko Pops that they might actually make a movie about. So, going into this, apparently, Daniel Richman, what he did is that he actually shared this photo that revealed a whole series of projects that could be coming up at Warner Animation Group. So you see all the things that were previously announced and some that we still don't know what they are. Like there's a music project, a DC movie, but then on the side we also see projects that has been revealed before that they are in the process of making them, like the Ice Dragon, Toto from The Wizard of Oz, The Jetsons, Coyote vs. Acme, The Cat in the Hat, and right at the bottom, you also see Space Jam. But then you see right on top, one of them says Funko, and another, it would say Funkoville, which would reveal that, yes, they are indeed making a Funko Pop movie. And on top of that, Richmond would go and continue by adding in what characters are going to be involved, since Funko Pop really does heavily get involved with pop culture. There would be a lot of pop culture characters. It even stated that it would be more as like a spiritual successor to the Lego movie. And from there, Daniel Richman states right here that some characters already confirmed for the Funko movie would include Darth Vader, Deadpool, Hellboy, Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman, Care Bears, and My Little Pony. And I think on an additional comment, Daniel Richman even added that looking into some of the other pictures, like in this one right over here, they would even confirm that apparently other characters involved would include Pennywise from the 2017 It. You also see Hello Kitty and even Baby Groot. And I even see right on top, several Disney characters as well, including the Red Queen from Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland and the Evil Queen from Disney's Snow White. So that's basically the main idea with what's been reported, is that apparently at Warner Animation Group, they are making this Funko Pop movie with a whole bunch of different Funko characters. And honestly, when I first saw this, I honestly had a lot of major doubt. Now, of course, considering that it is the internet, a lot of people just immediately shared this and they freaked out, because a lot of people would go and make gags about this kind of movie right over here. That it would be the kind of movie that people would think, like, Hollywood has run out of so much ideas that they would scrape at the bottom of the barrel and they would go and think up of something like the Funko Pop movie, which, in a way, a lot of people have stated that the biggest influence here is because of the Lego movie, but sometimes the Lego movie can be a bit of a bad influence at the same time, where it would also inspire movies like the Emoji Movie to exist. And with Funko, that does seem like something that would turn out to be somewhere in the veins of the Emoji Movie, where really the fact that it exists alone, or the fact that it could exist alone, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. And it's really hard to think about, okay, so now you're making a movie based on Funko Pop. What are you going to do with it? Like, what else can you do? It's really tough to imagine what kind of story can you really implement, especially with just Funko figurines, since they're not actually toys in the veins of Lego. They're just collectible figurines that really don't do much, and that's it. I know some people might say that, oh, well, technically you can make a movie about what's it like being a toy, not necessarily being played with, but being a collectible item, being owned by a collector. Well, in that case, that does sound like a pretty good idea. Too bad I've already seen it, though. It's called Toy Story 2. So from there, it's just really hard to imagine what can you do with a Funko movie. But also, I just want to add at the same time that I really do have my doubts if this really does exist. Because the one thing that I really do question is actually regarding the characters that would get involved. In Daniel Richman's list, he has listed a variety of characters like Darth Vader, Deadpool, Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman, Care Bears, My Little Pony, and all those characters. And one thing that I thought about, like, when seeing that whole list is that this Funko Pop movie, it sounds like an absolute copyright nightmare. It sounds like the kind of film that Warner Brothers would have to spend a giant budget, like $200 to $300 million, where most of which would have to go into the rights of these characters individually. Now, I understand that there are a lot of characters that they already do own that they can incorporate onto this. And I mean, Warner Brothers, of course, they have done movies where, like, you would see, like, a massive crossover of numerous of characters. Rather it be stuff like the Lego movie, where there are even some non-Warner Brothers characters that are involved, like Leonardo, and I think I saw Milhouse from The Simpsons as well. Or even Ready Player One, where it had a giant variety of characters all coming together, not necessarily from movies, but also you would see them from TV shows, from video games, from animes, and all that kind of stuff all coming together. But with this one right over here, with this Funko Pop movie, they actually have a lot of characters that they sound a lot harder to grab in order to put in their movie, especially the ones that are from Disney directly. characters like Darth Vader, or even according to the images right here, like they would want to have characters like Baby Groot, or the Evil Queen from Snow White, or the Red Queen from Tim Burton's Alice. And I guess we can also throw in Deadpool as well, since soon he's going to be a part of the Disney family. There's just a lot of these characters that it's just really difficult to imagine how can they even get the rights to these characters in the first place without spending so much of their budget as it is. And that's where, honestly, I have my doubts. I know we do live in an age where these big crossover movies and blending pop culture elements all together is starting to become a little bit more common, especially with animated films, like with the Lego Movie, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But with this one, it's starting to become a bit difficult to see how this in particular would become a reality when the rights to many of these characters are just way too spread out. Like, Warner Brothers alone are going to have a very hard time, or they would have a hard time if this is legitimate, to gather all these characters. And honestly, it's because of that I feel like there's some serious doubt into this. It's like, honestly, a movie where you would have like Darth Vader, Deadpool, Care Bears, and My Little Pony, and Harley Quinn. For some, it might sound like a dream come true, but in that case, it does sound too good to be true. So that part I am a little bit suspicious. And speaking of the images that Daniel Richman brought on board, like when he presented this on social media, like all the upcoming movies that are at Warner Animation Group, and then you see all the different like concept arts that you see that they would be well into production and already have a whole bunch of people that are working on it. But on top of that, one significant thing that Daniel Richman did show as well is actually some concept art for the Tom and Jerry movie. You probably know that soon there's going to be this live action animation hybrid of a Tom and Jerry movie, and already we are seeing some concept art, and probably the most shared picture is actually this one right here, where you see Tom and Jerry just looking on the side, and Jerry is on the shoulder of Jennifer Lawrence, indicating that there is a possibility that Warner Brothers is thinking of getting Jennifer Lawrence to star in the movie alongside Tom and Jerry, even though we don't necessarily have a confirmation of that. So, as you can tell, this guy has been sharing so many different images, so many different pictures that he managed to get from Warner Animation Group. But on top of that, it doesn't just end there, because he also went and shared a picture, not necessarily a picture actually, but he shared another piece of information of a movie that would be coming out, and this one in particular got a lot of people more excited about. Like, people freaked out that this would happen. Apparently, Daniel Richman also revealed that there would also be this Batman Beyond movie. Apparently, what Warner Brothers wanted to plan with this one in particular is that they wanted to make their version of Sony's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And with this one, it would be more centered on Batman, and of course the main character being Batman Beyond. And it even states right over here in my source on CBR.com, it states, according to SuperBrosMovie.com writer Daniel Richman, the production is tentatively looking to cast an Asian American voice actor for the main role of Terry McGinnis, Bruce Wayne's protege and successor as Gotham City's Batman. So basically, they really are like, with this one, it would indicate that, yeah, this is basically the Batman equivalent of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and this one really got a lot of hype, especially when Batman Beyond is also an animated series that did get a massive cult following. But honestly, I'm actually in the minority, where when I first heard the news, I was not excited for it. Not because I hate Batman Beyond, not because of anything like that, but honestly, I saw this, and I was at the point where I was like, okay, Now I have some serious doubts. Now I know someone is pulling my leg with this. Because the thing is, if you really do think about it, what they're trying to report here, and what Daniel Richman is trying to say with this, is that apparently they wanted to make a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but with Batman. And on that level, it really does not make sense whatsoever. Especially with the fact that technically Warner Animation Group already has a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse equivalent of Batman. In fact, that movie actually was released long before Spider-Verse was actually released. And coincidentally enough, it even had Phil Lord and Chris Miller as executive producers, just like with Spider-Man. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, of course, it's the Lego Batman movie. I mean, if you really do think about it, the Lego Batman movie is very, very similar to something like, it's very similar to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Not just because of Phil Lord and Chris Miller being involved with as executive producers, but also another massive comparison is the way that both movies would pay homage to their respective superhero. With Batman, sure, that movie is a lot more comical and satirical because of its connection with the Lego movie. But it is also at the same time an entire homage to Batman's legacy. And you do see in several scenes where they would pay respects and they would pay tribute to Batman in terms of the different variations that he would appear in, rather it be through the animated series, the big movies from the 1989 film, to like even recently with Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. We would see the comics, we would see the short films, we would even see the Adam West TV show. They would pay homage to the entirety of Spider-Man. And on top of that, another comparison is actually the involvement of a multiverse that would also include a big crossover. Now, with Spider-Man, of course, it's with the heroes, where you see all the different types of Spider-Men coming together because of multi-dimensional worlds coming together. Where in the Lego Batman movie, this is a bit of spoiler alert, but you see the Joker suddenly transported into this multi-dimensional prison, and then he would return to Gotham with many of the prisoners. And that one is more of a crossover of all different types of villains, not necessarily from Batman, even though there is a few scenes where you do see a giant crossover of all the different Batman villains coming together, but you also see different villains like the Wicked Witch of the West, the Gremlins, King Kong, the Kraken from Clash of the Titans. You also see Saruman. You see like this massive crossover all coming together. And that's why there's no need for Warner Animation Group to actually go and try to make a big collaboration, or not necessarily make a collaboration. There's no point for Warner Animation Group to actually make a Spider-Verse movie but with Batman, because it already exists. And that's why I see this, and honestly, this Batman Beyond film just makes no sense whatsoever on why they would even want to go and try to capitalize on Spider-Verse when they already got their superhero movie with Phil Lord and Chris Miller involved. It really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So much so that there was also another film journalist that went on board and actually tried to investigate if this is even true. And well, wouldn't you know it, it looks like it doesn't actually freaking exist. And this is actually from a writer from The Wrap called Humberto Gonzalez. He actually went and asked Warner Brothers directly if they are making an animated Batman Beyond film. And he actually released this statement on Twitter as he states here, No, there is no Batman Beyond movie in development. Their official word is, not true, we are not working on an animated Batman Beyond movie. In fact, to be extra sure, It was checked and shot down at Warner Animation Group on feature side, DC Films, and Warner Animation on TV side. So there is no Batman Beyond movie. So it's kind of strange, isn't it, that somehow this piece of information doesn't seem to be real. And this really got me thinking, and now I'm pretty much 99% sure of this, where it's not just Batman Beyond, but everything that Daniel Richtman revealed. It's not, keep in mind, it's not just Batman Beyond, but I'm also convinced all the pictures that you see here, all these pictures of the boards, all revealing the different movies and the concept arts of the Tom and Jerry movie, and even the Funko Pop movie, this is all fake. All this piece of information, all the pictures, they are fake. And I'm surprised nobody has yet to even call him out on this, but I'm going to say it right over here. Daniel Richtman, the writer of Super Bro movies, is a liar. He is spreading fake news and spreading out false information in order to get likes, in order to get attention, in order to get clicks. He is making up fake pieces about a Funko Pop movie, a Batman Beyond movie, and showing fake concept arts of Tom and Jerry and all that kind of stuff in order to grab some attention. And you guys might be wondering, well, why would he go after specifically Warner Animation Group? Well, if you think about it, the timing on it does make a little bit, of sense, because it's not just the factor that coming next week, there's going to be Warner Animation Group's next movie, which is The Lego Movie 2, the second part. But also at the same time, if you spread information about Warner Animation Group, it's something that people don't necessarily think as much as many of the other animation studios like Disney, Pixar, Illumination, or even Sony. So it makes it a little bit more credible that suddenly this new piece of information would come out and people would go and easily buy it. And that's exactly what happened, where there are some other news sources, like in this one here about Funko Pop. I got it from Animation Magazine, that apparently like some people would actually buy the information. And one of the big reasons why I had so much doubt ever since I first heard about this Funko Pop movie, it's actually regarding the pictures. Because you gotta keep in mind, they have been on the web, they have been online for so long. They have been on social media, and they have been on other websites for quite a long time, and especially on Daniel Richtman's account. And when you do think about it, there is absolutely no way that Daniel Richtman would have gotten away, even for a few hours, revealing pictures like this, revealing secret information that's happening at Warner Animation Group. Because in animation studios, rather it be places like Sony or Warner Brothers, or even some of the bigger studios like Disney and Pixar, they would try to make sure that everything is confidential. Not just with the people working on the movie specifically, but even for people who would be visiting the places, even for people of the press. So from there, they would have to make sure that they would sign contracts, they would sign like confidential deals, and also at the same time, they would make sure that no photography, no pictures, no phones would be brought up in order to take pictures. They would try to make sure that what happens in those studios stays in those studios, and that nothing gets leaked until the companies would go and give an official go. And from here, Daniel Richtman had these pictures for a long time that is highly prominent on his social media, and people were easily buying it real quick. And from there, this would be the kind of thing that did leave me confused over the fact that it just kept on sharing all around social media, because normally for Warner Animation Group, if this would all be legitimate, this would actually be a code red. They would sound the alarms, because this is a major emergency, that somehow someone is actually leaking all this massive information that nobody should be allowed to know about. Even though, yeah, there are a few things that we do know, but the fact that he revealed that there's this Funko movie. Of course, it would make big news. And also other stuff, including like concept art where they're thinking about getting Jennifer Lawrence for this Tom and Jerry movie. It's just a lot of this doesn't necessarily make sense. And you got to keep in mind, the source is just from some guy on Twitter who works on this website that honestly I've never even heard about. Have you guys heard about superbromovies.com? Like, since when is that guy from that little website considered a real source? When is he like an actual source for film news? There's just something about it doesn't necessarily make sense. And you know what's actually very interesting? It was actually just recently that he was called out on he was called out about Batman Beyond, revealing that this is apparently fake. And what's actually funny about it is that ever since then, like ever since he was actually called out, let's actually go to the picture that Daniel Richmond posted on Twitter. Oh, it's gone. Apparently, yep, it's out. Apparently it says here, this image has been removed in response to a report from the copyright holder. So at that point, I think like really ever since he was called out, all the pictures were pretty much taken out of it. It's pretty much all fake. So I mean, I would be open to the idea that there is a possibility that I could be wrong, and yes, Warner Brothers could actually be making a Funko Pop movie, or that they could be having this Tom and Jerry movie look like that. But for now, I'm just going to call out Daniel Richmond that he is an absolute liar, that all this information is fake. We all know for a fact now that the Batman Beyond movie is fake, but also this Funko Pop movie is absolutely fake as well. And here's another thing that I can tell you why is it that even the Funko Pop movie is actually fake, because if this is legitimate, and if you look at the pictures here, it seems that they would be pretty well into production with so many different character designs and so many different concept arts with it. You'd think that Warner Brothers at this point would have already announced that they are making a Funko Pop movie, and that they would already have producers, writers, and already a staff of animation people working on this project. But honestly, this is not the case. I feel like this can be all legitimately fake. So the fact that they didn't reveal it, and it's what seemingly is that they're pretty well into production with this. Now, I just feel like this is just not true at all. So all this, honestly, the Funko Pop movie, the concept art, all those pictures, and Batman Beyond, all fake. All bullcrap. And Daniel Richmond is a godforsaken liar that should not be trusted as a source for film news. Okay, so I let all that out. And now it is time that I want to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you guys, do you think that at least the Funko Pop movie or the pictures that he shared about Tom and Jerry and all that kind of stuff, do you think it's real? Do you think it's fake? Even if they are real, how do you feel about it? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys say in the chat wall right over here. Okay, let's see. Oof, I can't believe I fell for that news. That Funko film made me a bit curious as a pop collector. I thought it was kind of cool. You talking about the movie made me hopeful. I definitely bought it, so that just shows how gullible I am. Thank you for telling the story. Touche, AniMat's. Too freaking shay. Yeah, yo, don't, I just want to say, don't be bad, don't feel bad about it. Sometimes, like, we can easily be fooled by stuff, so don't worry about it. Don't feel bad about yourself. Let's see. These pin prints on the board could have been easily be obtained from Google Images. I mean, it's really not that hard to find Funko Pop art and the Jetsons logo or the book cover of Cat in the Hat on there. And that's actually true, because you think, like, with some of those pictures on the board, you'd think that Warner Brothers would have already made, at the very least, some kind of title to be made here. They would have already made their version of a title for the Cat in the Hat or the Jetsons or Toto or the Ice Dragon, instead of just printing this random picture. It just really doesn't necessarily make sense. And especially like when you see Space Jam right at the bottom, it's just a picture of the old Space Jam logo. And we know that they are pretty well into production with that. They already did release an official teaser image of Space Jam 2 with LeBron James. So you think they would already have some kind of title made for it. So that's another reason why this picture in particular can be fake. It's just the factor that a lot of these, with the exception of Coyote versus Acme, which I guess he made it himself, it's just like with a lot of these, that like this is just printed out, and these one, like I'm sure at Warner Animation Group right now, they would have actually had a they would have actually had at least a title created for the project. Okay, let's see now. Hey Matt, if this is real, I think this idea is dumb and a quick cash grab. It's the Emoji Movie of Funko Pops. Who knows, it could be like the Emoji Movie. Also, this is my first time tuning in your live stream. I'm happy to be here. Oh, welcome to the podcast, dude. Glad, hope you can have some fun here. Let's see. I don't think the Funko Pop movie and the Tom and Jerry are possibly fake, but I'm not sure who's worse for movie sources, Cartoon Brew or Daniel Richman. Daniel Richman, hands down, mainly because, at the very least, when Cartoon Brew would release something, they would be true about it. Like, say what you will about Cartoon Brew, yeah, the way that they would publish animation news, yeah, it's flat out terrible and embarrassing, but at the very least, I don't think there is an article from Cartoon Brew that is a flat out lie about it. Maybe there are opinion pieces from Crazy Old and Mid, but other than that, it's just, there's none that I can really think of that are flat out lies and false information in the veins of stuff like this, where Daniel Richman is spreading legitimately fake info about things that don't exist, like a Funko Pop movie or a Batman Beyond movie. Let's see. It says here, I'm gonna stay long since I'm about to see How to Train Your Dragon 3 since I bought the advanced screening from Fandango today. Lucky Canada didn't have that. I'm just gonna say this. I think the Funko Pop movie might be real. If they're making it right now, that would be terrible because we got the Emoji Movie that is already terrible, and for the rest, I didn't find the story to be real because I knew these news are fake. Not buying it. Okay, so... what do you think if Deadpool did appear in the Funko Pop movie? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see if there would be a Funko Pop movie in the first place. But, okay. Honestly, with that said, I think, I did get my message across that all these, news here is pretty much, like, all the news coming from Daniel Richman is just absolutely fake, and for now, I'm just not buying into any of these. I mean, we've already got one confirmed story that it's fake. I'm sure plenty of the other ones, like the concept art for the Tom and Jerry movie and the Funko Pop movie, is also fake as well. Okay, so now that we are pretty much done with this story, it is now time that we shall hop into our next one, and we're going to be a lot more positive with the next story that we have. And speaking of what I was talking about related to the fake Batman Beyond movie, this is actually something that, we actually do see some justice being done. I know that when it comes to the box office, a lot of it can be unjustifiable, and there would feel like there isn't much justice there in the first place, where there have been movies where they are amazingly good and probably some of the best movies of the decade, but sadly they would also be box office bombs and very few people would actually see it. But at the same time, we have also seen movies that are just downright terrible, some of the worst movies out there, and yet they would even be not only successful, but also some of the biggest and highest grossing films of the year. And when those moments happen, they do suck. But that doesn't mean it's not necessarily common where the success would be equal to how the movie is in terms of its quality. And when those two things meet, man, they actually do feel great. And what I'm talking about here is actually Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Let me just go ahead and refresh that to see if there's anything new. Yeah, okay, so we do have a little bit of an update just on the numbers here. But in terms of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I am officially happy to say that yes, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is Sony Pictures Animation's highest grossing film at the domestic box office. This week, it has officially surpassed $170 million at the domestic box office alone, an achievement that has yet to be done by any other Sony animation film. In fact, if you look through my source here at Box Office Mojo, looking at all the films done by Sony Pictures Animation, Spider-Verse officially beat out the previous record holders that were done by the two Hotel Transylvania sequels. Hotel Transylvania 3 had $167.5 million domestically, while Hotel Transylvania 2 had $169.7 million domestically. Not even they managed to surpass the box office in terms of like $170 million. But Spider-Verse seems to be the movie that ultimately achieved that goal. Now, despite that, even though it did manage to break those numbers, as I am recording this, in terms of their worldwide box office, there isn't as much as some of the other Sony animation films, where for now, it has made almost $342 million, placing it in second place, not second place, in seventh place, I believe, where it is right behind movies such as Smurfs 2, Peter Rabbit, the three Hotel Transylvania films, and the reigning champion of Sony animation films, the 2011 Smurfs. And honestly, I'll just comment right now regarding the worldwide box office. In terms of how Spider-Verse would go in the foreseeable future, it wouldn't necessarily be hard to imagine that it will eventually surpass Smurfs 2 and Peter Rabbit, since both those numbers, they are very close to what Spider-Verse has right now. Like Smurfs 2 has $347.5 million, and Peter Rabbit has $351.3 million. So I'm sure Spider-Verse would eventually surpass that. Now, maybe it could break out the first Hotel Transylvania film, since that has $358.4 million. But I would highly doubt if we would see it break through many of the other ones, like with Hotel Transylvania 2, Hotel Transylvania 3, and the Smurfs. That's going to be hard to really imagine if it can reach those numbers, especially at this time right now, when it's going to be very soon that Spider-Verse would be in theaters for about 2 months. But let's go back into the domestic box office, because that is the real record breaker right over here, and I am honestly really excited, and you know what? I'm really happy to see that this record has officially been broken and that justice has actually been done. For once, I am actually really happy that a Sony animation film managed to be really successful at the box office because of the quality that it presented with its movies. And I'm honestly very surprised of the fact that Spider-Verse is actually still sorry, it's just that my phrasing is just, it doesn't work as well as I thought. What I'm trying to say is that with Spider-Verse, I was actually very surprised to see that it's still doing very well at the box office, even in the long run. I think that's the big thing, that it managed to succeed, more so than many other films. In fact, let's go into the weekend box office, like just see like how some of them have done. Like a good example, this is from last weekend, from January 25th to the 27th, and Spider-Verse has remained in 5th place for a while, and it has only been every week it's only been going a bit down, but it's like by less than 20% for every week, and it's still going strong. Like every week it's been getting like 10 million and 8 million and 7 million, and especially for a movie that's been at the box office, it's been in theaters for like more than 7 to 8 weeks now. It's amazing, and it's already surpassed many of the other films that have been released long after Spider-Verse, like Mary Poppins Returns, is already dying down quickly. Bumblebee is not doing as strong, and even some of the other ones as well, like Escape Room, A Dog's Way Home. Like, a lot of these movies, they have been in theaters much shorter than Spider-Verse, but Spider-Verse is still staying strong, and it has a lot of retainability, and it's really fascinating to see, mainly because when it comes to Spider-Verse, it's really like, the reason why it is still doing very well right now, it's the positive word of mouth. It is the positive reaction that people are having regarding Spider-Verse, and it is because of the amount of effort and quality that has been put onto this feature, debatably more so than any other Sony animation film out there. It's mainly because of how people are highly aware about this movie and how it is still relevant to this day, that people got really excited, and not to mention that how the movie has such a large fan base. And, I'm going to say right now that with these numbers, it is not because people just went and see it and that's it. I can guarantee you that a good chunk of the money that it made came from people who saw it not for the first time. Like, there are some out there, I'm sure, like, people in the chat wall will mention this as well, like, there are people out there who have already seen Spider-Verse like twice, 3 times, 4 times in theaters because they want to relive the experience that they just saw with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, considering that this movie literally gave out something that no other animated feature or no other movie in general has yet to deliver. And especially with some of the recent news regarding Spider-Verse, like, one good thing that actually did help really get it some strong traction is actually with the Golden Globe Awards. When you think about it, at the Golden Globes, it managed to beat out even like Ralph Breaks the Internet and Incredibles 2 to win for Best Animated Feature. So that would actually give it a lot of attention. It would give it a lot of good word of mouth. It would, it would give out a lot of positive publicity to give audiences more reasons to actually go and check out Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And this is actually amazing to see how this is still going, especially when it would be up in competition against Aquaman, because admittedly, I did think that because of the intense competition during the end of 2018, I was questionable regarding if Spider-Verse would even survive during that time, but it did, like, even though Aquaman debatably is still stronger than Spider-Man, it did manage to beat out Mary Poppins Returns and Bumblebee. Mary Poppins, she put up a good fight, but didn't last as long as Spider-Verse, and it really is quite intense to see, and really exciting for the movie to go and check it out, because yes, the effort definitely is worth it. How the movie definitely really pushed animation to a brand new level, and even making what's literally a comic book coming to life. It's just such a unique experience that people are really encouraged to go and check out again and again and again. And who knows, maybe this could continue throughout February as well. But honestly, I will say right now that I do doubt that, though, mainly because considering that we are entering into February, that's actually the part where I feel like February is going to be the month where Spider-Verse is going to end. That's where the numbers are not going to go up. I know a lot of people are probably questioning, is it going to be possible for Spider-Verse to cross $200 million at the domestic box office? And at that point, I'm going to say no, mainly because we're going to get more animated features coming out that a lot of people are going to be more excited to see, and probably take the spotlight away from Spider-Verse. As I probably stated before, the Lego Movie 2, the second part, is coming out next week. And that's another movie where Phil Lord and Chris Miller is actually attached to it. And even right now, we are seeing advertisings where, like, they are using Lord and Miller as a major promotional aspect for the Lego Movie 2, from, like, saying stuff like, from the people that brought you the Lego Movie and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So that's why they're trying to make it that much much of a hard sell. So I'm sure Lego Movie 2 is going to take away some of the spotlight of Spider-Verse. And if that's not going to be enough, then I'm sure How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World will definitely do that as well. They're going to take what's the rest of it. Like, whatever spotlight Spider-Verse had after the Lego Movie 2, I'm sure Dragon is going to take whatever's left of it, and with Spider-Verse, it'll just fade away from theaters. So that's why I highly doubt that we're going to see it grow its box office numbers exponentially. So I think it's really going to be just slowing down. Maybe it's going to end off at either 180 million domestically or even 190 domestically, but I would highly doubt at this point that it would cross 200 million. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it will still have that retainability and people will still go watch it even after the Lego Movie 2 would be released, but I don't know. I'm just putting my doubts for now. It would be actually amazing, but I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. But one thing that I will say that I really am hopeful regarding Into the Spider-Verse, and what I do wish is that because Spider-Verse is domestically Sony Animation's highest grossing feature film, I do hope that it gives out a message for Sony Animation that this is the new direction that they should go. If they want to follow the money, they need to give up on many of this cartoony garbage like Hotel Transylvania, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the Emoji Movie, and whatever. Give up on that and make more experimental films with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. They've played it way too safe before, and so far they've got some money, but it didn't gather them some good word of mouth or some good reputation. So with Spider-Verse, now that they know that they can make more money without going cartoony, hopefully this is the new direction that they're going to take. They'll try something different. They'll try experimenting with other styles. Hopefully this will encourage them to really expand upon their creativity instead of making movies that are just cartoony garbage. Just animated films where the directors they don't know what they're doing, or that they don't care what they're doing, and they're just essentially creating stuff just because they need to make a paycheck, barely putting in any effort, just make it as cartoony, and resulting in the audience to feel like they're just a bunch of idiots. Like these movies like Cloudy, Hotel Transylvania, and Smurfs, like all they do is just pander to the youngest of kids and just treat their audience like godforsaken idiots. That's what's so unappealing about the Sony Animation brand in the past, is the way that they unfairly insult their audience in a way by producing such cheap, low-budget garbage. And with Spider-Verse, however, that's when things are changing. That's what I hope to see from Sony Animation. Less garbage and less objectively terrible animation from stuff like Cloudy, Hotel Transylvania, and Emoji Movie, and that we would get more stuff like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That we do see more experimental things, more experimental animation that is different, that is unique, and that treats animation and its audiences respectfully. So hopefully, if Sony wants to follow the money, give up on their cartoony garbage and follow Spider-Verse. And that's my little report on what's going on with Spider-Verse right now. So I would like to know from you guys, what do you think about the news about Spider-Verse being Sony's most successful film domestically? Are you guys excited about it? Are you guys hopeful about Sony's future? I would like to know what you think right over here. Let's see now. I believe the success of Into the Spider-Verse box office is perhaps just an appetizer. The sequel and the Spider-Women spin-off might gain bigger bucks once they're made and released. Also, speaking of experiment, I heard Sony Animation is making an adult animated film called Fix. Yeah, I heard that they are doing that adult animated feature, but also at the same time, I do have my doubts on it, mainly because it's Genndy Tartakovsky involved with it, and after all the Hotel Transylvania films, I do not trust that guy with a movie, honestly. Oh god, I just don't. Okay. Let's see. Major congrats to the team at Sony for not just outdoing the entire Hotel Transylvania franchise, but also knowing their way around Spider-Verse. Unless they greenlit an Emoji Movie 2, Sony is on a great track from here on out, dudes. Okay, let's see now. Any other ones? I'm happy for Into the Spider-Verse. It was a great film, and it's getting what it deserves. And it's nice to see you be happy for a Sony animation film. However, it sucks that it can't beat out Sony's more crappier movies higher at the worldwide charts, such as The Smurfs. But number 7 is a decent number. Now, let's hope Spider-Verse wins Best Animated Picture at the Oscars. Let's see now. I love that Spider-Verse is the highest grossing film domestically for Sony Animation. I love the film so much that it is my favorite Marvel film aside from Guardians of the Galaxy films. It was stunning and absolutely amazing with great characters. I'm glad that it has been doing really successful and people keep going back to see it. Okay. Oh, actually, there is one more. It's time that Sony stops catering to the lowest common denominator and starts going in a different, more intelligent direction in their animations. Spider-Verse is a great first step, and I hope they continue to make quality films to this degree and not backtrack. I definitely do hope so as well. Alright, so I do see that we are in a more positive environment, especially with the success of Spider-Verse, so now things are going pretty smoothly right now. But now it is time that we shall, oops, excuse me, as I was saying though, now we shall go and jump into our next story, in which we will go into the positive to the absolutely stupid and bizarre. Now, this was something that would feel like Sony animation from the past, but this is not from Sony. This is actually from a company that has been very consistent in making really stupid things. And it's not from an animation studio, though. What I'm talking about is actually PETA. And yes, PETA is actually demanding Pixar to make one little change. It's to go and make one significant change. Now, if you guys have probably seen this week, Disney has officially let out our first look of Bo Peep in Toy Story 4. And if you may remember, we have not seen Bo Peep in a very long time since she did skip out on Toy Story 3. And the direction that they wanted to go with Bo Peep, of course, is to make her more independent and also much more of a strong character. In fact, they have also shown a little teaser clip where you see Woody and Buzz. They were confused about this image that's like popping out at them, and then suddenly the background would break out, and then you see Bo Peep like coming into action using her staff kind of like a weapon and just hanging out with Woody and Buzz. However, with PETA, they do have one little problem with Bo Peep, and it's actually regarding that staff in particular, or what it's actually called, a crook. And I shall read a little bit from my source here at comicbook.com as it states, after the new image of Bo Peep from Toy Story 4 was released online this week, people for the ethical treatment of animals, aka PETA, okay, there, sorry about that. Anyways, PETA has reached out to Pixar and director Josh Cooley, asking for them to remove Bo Peep's crook from the film entirely. If you're unfamiliar with the word crook, it's the tall sheep herding staff that Bo Peep carries. And we also got a quote here from the PETA manager of animals in film and television, Lauren Thomason, as Lauren would state, a badass Bo Peep would likely bop the shearers, not the sheep. A symbol of domination over any animals is a thing of the past and not something that belongs in Toy Story 4. Won't you please consider removing Bo Peep's crook from the final animation? And Lauren would continue by saying, I'm contacting you today about Bo Peep's new look. Given that she was designed to have a modern look, why hasn't she lost that outdated and cruel crook? You may not know about these shepherd's crooks. Are you solely to hook a sheep's neck and force these gentle animals to move on? that isn't something that progressive Bo Peep would countenance in 2019. So that's pretty much the big thing about PETA right now, is that apparently, now that Disney officially released the first look of Bo Peep, PETA is now demanding to make a major change to get rid of Bo Peep's crook. And oh boy, guys, it's PETA being PETA. Who the fridge is not surprised that they would make such a ridiculous demand like that. And let me just start things off by saying that I think it's pretty clear that PETA doesn't even know what they're frickin' talking about. The thing is that they're discussing about a character from Toy Story. They're discussing about a Toy Story character regarding something that Bo Peep would hold. And if I may loosely quote Woody from Toy Story, she is a toy! She is a child's plaything! Do you honestly think that they would actually make a scene where you see Bo Peep where she would bop the shit, whereas as Lauren Thomason would quote, would say here, would likely bop the sharers, not the sheep? Do you really think they would actually do you think like she would actually do that where she's on the hunt? Like, the reason why she's now more of a warrior type character is to go after all the sharers? No, she's a freaking toy. A sheep is like 20 times as tall, like 20 times taller than freaking Bo Peep. You do realize that, right? She's not actually going around, like, poorly treating freaking sheep. And even at that, have you seen the other Toy Story films? Like, you did see them, right? Considering that with the, like, she does have some sheep. Well, she doesn't have, like, some sheep. It's actually, she has this three-headed sheep. And she would treat them as her pet. Like, like those three-headed sheep is pretty much Bo Peep's pet, and you don't see her treating animals terribly. Like, she's not using the crook to go and like attack the sheep or whatever. You know, they don't do that. Nobody ever did that to the sheep. That three-headed sheep was not harmed in any of the Toy Story films. And in the case of Bo Peep, she doesn't do that. Like, she doesn't do that. Like, sure, she is technically Bo Peep from the nursery rhymes, but you don't see her as a legitimate sheep herder or anything like that. She's just representing a nursery rhyme character, and her character, for the most part in the Toy Story films, is mostly acting like Woody's girlfriend, and that's it. And honestly, I do find it to be a bit ridiculous of the idea of getting rid of the crook in general. I mean, technically, some people could argue that you could just easily replace the crook and just make it like some kind of staff or whatever, and you can render that in the rest of the film. But no, you cannot remove the crook, because technically that is a major part of Bo Peep's identity. If you want Bo Peep to still be Bo Peep, then you gotta keep the crook to have some kind of resemblance that she is actually based on the classic nursery rhyme character. So taking that away, and I mean, you got a character that can essentially just be like Barbie and she's going rogue because she broke up with Ken and stuff like that. You need to keep some form of identity of Bo Peep, and yeah, it has to be the crook. And also, another thing that I want to mention is actually the element of the crook. Okay, sure, PETA probably knows what crooks are. Nobody else does. Like, honestly, the only time that I have ever seen a crook ever is in the Toy Story films, held by Bo Peep, and also another one is actually the Big Bad Wolf, who disguises himself as Bo Peep in one of Disney's Three Little Pigs cartoons. And that's pretty much it. That's all that you see them. And maybe there are some few other places. Maybe I've seen some crooks being held during some nativity scenes, but other than that, that's pretty much it. So that's the thing, is that for the most part, like, maybe the chat wall, like, I'm sure you guys don't necessarily know what a crook is as well. But if you guys don't know, that's perfectly fine. You're kind of proving my point, is that the grand majority of people in this world don't necessarily know what a crook is or what a crook is used for. They just, like, they don't necessarily know what it is. They just know that the crook is the stick that Bo Peep would hold. And that's pretty much it. So honestly, in this case right over here, I just feel like PETA is just being PETA. That's the best way that I could put it. Obviously, as well, they don't know how animation frickin' works. Like, we're only like a few months away until the official release of Toy Story 4, and right now they're asking, oh, can you make this major change for us? And I mean, it's not like with Ralph Breaks the Internet, where you have this one character that's a little bit questionable in terms of her preference. You might remember the controversy with Tiana and her hair in Ralph Breaks the Internet. Like, okay, that scene, I can understand why Disney would have to make some kind of update about it, especially when the scenes involving the Disney princesses, they only appear not too long, like just one scene and then another scene at the end, but that's pretty much it. That's an easy fix. But considering that Bo Peep is going to be a major character in Toy Story 4, I believe, excuse me. Okay, I believe that this is a change that I feel like it's a bit ridiculous. I feel like that's going to be a change where it would just take much longer and it would make the production a little bit more complicated than it should be. And honestly, just looking at this, I just feel like this is just PETA being PETA. Whenever they're angry about something or they're demanding a movie to have this big change, they just need to be taken equally as seriously as flat earthers and anti-vaxxers. They just don't know what they're talking about, and overall, you know. So that's honestly the case here. Like, honestly, I look at this and it's just PETA being PETA and nothing more. Just don't know what they're talking about and they just want to get attention just to be crazy. So that's pretty much the news here about PETA and their little beef with Bo Peep. So I would like to go and ask the chat wall right over here, and I want to know from you guys, what do you guys think about PETA's demand to change Bo Peep's staff? Do you guys agree with PETA that they need to change that? Do you think they're just being crazy? I would like to know what you guys think. Okay, let's see. PETA is an organization I despise more than Autism Speaks. I get that they would do anything to quote unquote protect animals on real life situations, but complaining about something like this from fiction? God, this gets me to no end. It makes me wonder why no movie is not asked to collaborate why no movie is not asked or collaborated by my favorite organization, World Wildlife Fund. You know, and the funny thing is that with PETA, you got to keep in mind, they're asking for a major change, and also the fact that they're asking for a major change in an animated film where no animals are harmed whatsoever in this. Honestly, it does add an extra layer of stupidity on that. Okay, let's see. Give me strength! I've seen PETA do some ridiculous things, such as saying that meat metaphors are comparable to racism. Oh my god, did they? I would say I'm surprised that they did that, but I'm not, actually. But this is just idiotic. You know an organization is crazy when the South Park parody is more serious than the actual thing. As Lois Griffin said it best, PETA! Oh boy, and some people are even worried Pixar better not listen to PETA. Do you think they're legitimately gonna listen to them? Hell no, Pixar is too smart for that. They ain't gonna freaking care about PETA, especially with PETA's reputation, like, really gone down the drain. There's no way that Pixar would be taking PETA's words seriously, man. It's too ridiculous, and even the demand is too stupid. Let's see now. This is so stupid. The fact that they wait until the 4th sequel to ask, oh, can you get rid of Bo Peep's crook? Why are you doing it now? Good question, actually. This shows one of many reasons why I see PETA as the Autism Speaks of animal rights groups. They would rather complain about fictional animals than, I don't know, helping real ones. Yep, You do bring up a good point. Yeah, instead of protecting animals in real life, they want to go and complain about Toy Story 4 about Bo Peep's stick. So that's how you know that's how you know the sanity of PETA right over there. Okay, so I think we're all charged up about PETA right over here. So now that we are done with that, it is now time that we shall jump into our next story. And with this one that I got right over here, yes, we're going to be talking about another sensational meme. But this time, it is something from another cartoon, an older cartoon, but not necessarily as old as Somebody Touch My Spaghetti or Big Chungus. In fact, we are actually going to be discussing about not a man, not a cartoon, but a god. Yes, folks, you got it right, chat wall. We shall be discussing about the mighty Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Yes, it seems that right now the internet is going crazy by portraying Shaggy from Scooby-Doo as this all-powerful god, that he can use 1% of his power and he can destroy an entire planet. You've probably seen some memes circulating around showing the might of Shaggy. In fact, there's one example here, which, by the way, I'm using my source in Polygon, as it would state. You see some pictures of some interviews from the live-action actors of Scooby-Doo, as it says right over here. One time, Shaggy snapped his fingers, and Michelle, aka Daphne, just disappeared. She came back like 30 seconds later, but she looked really scared and kept saying something about the dark place. And then you see Daphne just saying, I don't want to talk about the dark place. I don't want to talk about the dark place ever again. And, so that's pretty much the big idea right now, is that apparently Shaggy is this all-powerful being, where even, even this one little picture here, where it even states, like you see, Matthew Lillard interviewing as Shaggy, as he says, I don't actually remember filming any scenes. Once the cameras start rolling, I would black out as the spirit of Shaggy possessed my mortal body once again. And then, of course, it would continue by saying, being Shaggy has led me down a path of death and destruction. I've killed many people in the hope of replicating 1% of Shaggy's being. By the end of filming, I hope to become 100% Shaggy. I will become one with him. So you might be wondering, what the fridge is this? How the fridge did we come to a position where we now praise Shaggy as an all-powerful god? Well, apparently it does have a very interesting history, and it was actually a meme that's been years in the making, but only in 2019 has it propelled its popularity where people bow down to Shaggy's might. It actually all started out from this one little clip from a 2011 movie called Scooby-Doo, Legend of the Phantosaur. Legend of the Phantosaur, sorry about that. And apparently there's this one YouTuber who actually would play that little clip of Shaggy where he would be beating up a bunch of biker guys and would interpose that with a soundtrack from Dragon Ball Super called Ultra Instinct, which is why the title of this video is called Ultra Instinct Shaggy, which, by the way, the video is actually made by Media. And from there, a lot of people would have a lot of fun where we portray Shaggy as kind of like this Dragon Ball character, where now he's got where now he could take the form of Ultra Instinct. And there is also another picture right over here where you see like Shaggy finally in his Ultra Instinct form, and Scooby just seems rather pleased about it. And keep in mind, though, that the video and the pictures, they have been done throughout 2017, like the end of 2017 and the beginning of 2018. But it wouldn't necessarily be until recently, especially with the interview that I just showed you, where we see stuff that actually starts out by saying, with Matthew Lillard interviewing, and it would state, like, I don't remember filming any scenes, and Shaggy would possess my body, and all that kind of stuff. So there would be that element that would be included, where we would see this meme, it would actually start off with this, and then suddenly it would just take it to a brand new level. Now, I have heard that apparently what really propelled the popularity of this Shaggy meme is actually a petition where people were asking for Shaggy to appear in the next Mortal Kombat game, which is coming out in this April, that they're making all these petitions to have Shaggy appear in Mortal Kombat 11. And since then, we see Shaggy being praised as this almighty god that could take down enemies, like Shaggy can defeat Thanos, and we see all these different stories coming from the other cast members of the live-action Scooby-Doo about Matthew Lillard's unlimited power as Shaggy, and whenever he would use like 1% or, God forbid, 10% of Shaggy's powers, like, it was at the point where now it really started to pick up, and even Matthew Lillard himself actually started to notice a bit. And at first, he was a bit confused about it. He actually first noticed and stated, "This is wrong." And he was off-putted by these memes, but then later, he learned to embrace it. He learned to accept the meme. He learned to say, you know what, screw it, it's the internet, let's just go and have fun with it. And now he fully embraces the power of Shaggy as this all-powerful god, even sharing this one picture on Instagram where he had all these muscles from Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. And it even says from Matthew Lillard's Instagram, "Behold the tiny oracle." And by the way, he's also holding up his daughter. "Behold the tiny oracle. She shall deliver upon thee the great and mighty Zoink. For she is the chosen beast of power." And like, dude, she shall inherit the universe. So that's kind of the funny thing about Shaggy, is that it started out as this little meme of seeing Shaggy as this Dragon Ball character, but now we see Shaggy as this all-powerful being in general that could take on anyone. Not only take on any Dragon Ball character, but also take on Thanos, take on any Mortal Kombat character, pretty much take on the world, where only a percentage of his power can just immediately wipe out galaxies. And you know what's actually funny is that I do feel like these kinds of memes are actually kind of familiar. Like, this is not necessarily the first time that the internet would completely freak out about this all-powerful being. You might remember back in the mid-2000s or throughout the 2000 decade, one of the most popular memes of the time was actually Chuck Norris. You might remember how people would always have fun with Chuck Norris and view him as this all-powerful god, even greater than God in a way, where we would make all these kinds of jokes. In fact, actually, hold on a sec. I actually do have something here. I just need to show you. I actually did get into the Chuck Norris memes, and I actually have do have a series of books right over here. Each of them are written by Ian Spector, and they're all these little memes and little gags about the might of Chuck Norris, and they're very similar to how we view Shaggy. In fact, let me just go ahead and read you some of it. Chuck Norris irons his shirt while he is wearing them. Or another example is Chuck Norris keeps the undefeated 1972 Miami Dolphins in a large tank in his backyard. So it's all different kinds of little phrases and little gags to just where basically the punchline is how powerful Chuck Norris is, that there is no man, no being in this universe that can be powerful than Chuck Norris. And I guess the internet in general does have a bit of an obsession about this all-powerful being. And the fascination with Shaggy being this powerful god is mainly because the image of Shaggy is something you would not expect, because when you think of Shaggy, you don't think of him as this all-powerful god. And the same thing can apply vice versa, where when you would think of what can be this all-powerful god that would have infinite strength and infinite power, you don't think about Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. So it's kind of like this odd match that for some reason it just works out for the sake of comedy. And now we're seeing all these different types of memes where we see Shaggy as this mighty being where we're just having fun with it. And honestly, it does seem pretty random, but this is actually this is actually pretty fun. I will say this is actually pretty funny, and especially that this did get the approval of Matthew Lillard, who not only played the live-action Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo movies, he is also currently the main voice of Shaggy after Casey Kasem retired back in 2009. So the fact that even the official Shaggy has, like, he sends his blessing and he sends a percentage of his powers to let this meme flow and just be embraced by the entire internet, it is kind of fun to see. And there is a bit of like a comedy element where you think about how Scooby-Doo can be like in this position where now it's relevant, it's popular all over again, but for the strangest reasons. But honestly, I feel like with this meme, it's mostly the kind that it really is doing more good than it is harm or anything like that, where it is helping out, like, making Scooby-Doo a bit more relevant. It got people talking about Scooby-Doo all over again, and especially with Shaggy. It just seems rather funny, actually. And also, another thing I want to mention is actually regarding the Mortal Kombat thing. Even some people in the chat wall did mention this. Even the creator of Mortal Kombat actually did take notice and played around with the idea just for fun on the internet of having Shaggy in Mortal Kombat. So a lot of it just seems like a pretty funny idea. So overall, with this Shaggy meme, yeah, it does seem weird, but that's kind of like the whole point. It's just the sheer randomness of having Shaggy as this all-powerful god capable of taking down anyone using only a little percentage of his power. It's just funny, and I feel like we are reliving the Chuck Norris gags all over again, but now Chuck Norris is passing down the torch to Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Okay, now that I have said that, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you guys, what do you all think about the Shaggy meme? Are you guys a fan of the all-powerful Shaggy? Do you guys praise our Lord and Savior, Shaggy Rogers? Do you think the memes are stupid? I would like to know what you guys think about them. Alright, let's see. This meme has gotten me excited for the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. The Avengers versus Thanos. Pff, that's now dirt to me. I'm hyped as hell to see Shaggy uses his powers to crumble Mr. Spacely's empire. Oh my god. No. The funny thing is that I'm sure that with a small percentage, Shaggy is actually the reason why we had the crossover of the Jetsons and the Flintstones, where apparently Shaggy unleashed a little bit too much of his powers, where he made the future go back to the past, and that's why we see the Jetsons with the Flintstones. That's just my little theory on that. Maybe make that a thing in the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. Let's see. I think this meme might come from just the absurdity that Shaggy is portrayed as an almighty being, while in the actual show, Shaggy is a massive coward who can only be bribed with Scooby snacks. I think that is kind of like the whole point of the joke. It's the factor that we don't think Shaggy is a powerful god, because when you think of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, he acts nothing like a powerful god or even brave or anything like that. So that's what makes it such an odd couple. That's two concepts where it's like opposites attract in a way, where it's like this is one of the very few cases where two wrongs make a right here. Okay, let's see now. It's official, folks. Shaggy Rogers is the one who will kill the likes of Satan, Thanos, Bill Cipher, Stonekeeper, and Mark Zuckerberg all at once, while bathing in the blood of the innocent. However, we all know that Shaggy is not the real god. We all know that the one true god is Tamatoa. Oh man, is that a challenge? Is that a freaking challenge? Do you want Shaggy to fight against Tamatoa? The Shiny versus the Shaggy. Oh, that's going to be a pretty epic battle we're gonna see here. Oh, man. Oh, let's see now. What else have we got? Oh dear, I can imagine how horrified Casey Kasem would react to this meme if he was alive today. This meme goes against his wishes for the character. I mean, I heard at one point he demanded his character to be a vegetarian during production of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Heck, in the Looney Tunes Back in Action movie, Casey, voicing Shaggy, complained on Matthew's performance as Shaggy. I don't know. It really does depend, because with Casey Kasem, he made that demand to make Shaggy a vegetarian mainly because Casey Kasem is a vegetarian and he wants that to reflect upon Shaggy. So that's why he made that kind of demand. It's not for any like activism thing or anything like that. It's more of a personal thing. How Casey Kasem would react, honestly, I don't know. Maybe he would hate it. Maybe he would be like Matthew Lillard and he would just fully embrace it and just become like, hello, everybody, this is Casey Kasem, the voice of your one true God. Who knows about that? Mega Shaggy and Pokemon. Oh, you're asking for too much, man. You're asking for you're asking for something that can go beyond unlimited power. If you're asking for either like if you want to give a Mega Stone to Shaggy or if you want to give Shaggy a signature Z power, no, that's just no, or no, not a Z power, a Z move. Oh God, may God have mercy on your soul. Like, Shaggy would just eliminate all the Pokemon. Or worse yet, he would take, like, Shaggy would just take all the Pokemon and would just magically send them to the Digimon world. That's what's gonna happen with Shaggy. Okay. I think we are pretty much all good with this Shaggy meme. We all had our fun here with this one. And now it shall be time that we shall move on to the grand finale. And with this one, we are about to enter the controversial. But don't worry, guys. I got some good news for you. This is not about John Lasseter. For once, we are going to talk about a controversial story that's not, that's not about John Lasseter. So we can finally give that guy a break. He can keep on working at Skydance. We'll let him do his job. So we're just going to put him on the side now. We had all our emotions out of the way of John, so now we can just move on from him. But I will say this, though. Speaking of John Lasseter, oh boy, we are about to go into some familiar territory with this one. And I'm going to be talking about the anime dub voice actor, Vic Mignogna. I think that's how you say his name. Yes, Vic Mignogna has been in very tough controversy, some pretty hard controversy. And if you guys don't know, this guy is actually a voice actor specifically for anime dubs in shows like not only Dragon Ball, but also in Full Metal Alchemist. And just recently, he lended his voice in the movie Dragon Ball Super Broly. However, recently, he has been in some massive controversy over some allegations that have been resurfaced, and yeah, this is a bit of a #MeToo movement, not only of sexual harassment and sexual misconduct, but also a bit of homophobia, and at the same time, some anti-Semitism. Now, in the case of what happened, it's actually mostly stuff that happened during conventions. There are numerous of stories that you can read about related to Vic Mignogna on social media and different websites, but I'm going to be using my source in Polygon and another one that's going to be from Anime News Network that I will get to later. But with the case of Vic Mignogna, most of his controversies would actually take place in conventions. Whenever he would be a special guest star, there would be some inappropriate moments with the guy where he would be going into some John Lasseter territory, and with the convention goers, especially with female con goers, he would get a little too close and a little too personal to the point that he would not ask for their consent on some things. He would be giving them uncomfortable hugs and even some creepy kind of hugs that you will see later. He would also be groping a few, and also he would be kissing some of the female congoers. some of which are even underage. And this has been going as far back as 2010 that some of these reports have been done. So there are some girls that would have been like 13 and 14, and it wouldn't stop Vic to go and give them uncomfortable hugs and also some unwanted kisses and stuff like that. Okay, so what about the homophobia? Where did that come from? Well, apparently, a lot of those cases would actually do come from some homophobic actions that Vic Mignogna has done, some things that he has said in the past, but also at the same time, it's his absolute refusal to sign yaoi pics. And if you guys don't know, yaoi is actually some fan art, actually just like in fan art terms, yaoi is just depictions of two guys kissing or just two guys in love with each other. It could be as simple as like two guys in love holding hands, or it could go to the extreme where it's just flat out sex. So apparently he would have some more subtle yaoi pics handed to him and he would just flat out refuse to sign them. So there is a bit of that homophobic element into that, where he just refused to sign yaoi fan art because he doesn't support the LGBT community. But then there was also the anti-Semitism. That seems pretty out of nowhere. Why would he say that? Well, apparently there was at one point in one of his panels where he would also go and he would have a chat, and apparently in another room there was a whole bunch of noise, and he would say that, oh, holy crap, it's like a Holocaust back there. And that's where it would seem like an insensitive comment, and that's where a lot of the claims of his anti-Semitism would appear. And this is just one of the many examples that would go against Vic Mignogna and to present a lot of his bad behavior. And this is not to mention how he would present himself, and also how he would act very unprofessionally during his time at conventions, not towards con-goers, but also towards staffers as well. But at the same time, since the controversy has emerged, we have also gotten an official word from Vic Mignogna himself regarding all this, and this is directly from his Twitter account that's been posted here in Anime News Network, as it states here. This is heartbreaking. Over the last few days, a number of comments and allegations have been voiced on social media. I'd like to share my thoughts. Homophobic? No. Some of my dearest friends and members are of the LGBTQ community, including several that I brought into my production family on Star Trek Continues. This is a blatant false statement. I said many years ago that I didn't like a particular character I voiced was gay, contrary to what some fans believe, not because it matters to me at all, but because I was told this was the case. I was also elected not to autograph yaoi, not because I am homophobic, but because I didn't wish to sign material that was not canon. Anti-Semitic? I couldn't even grasp where this was coming from until someone pointed out to me a moment years ago when I was in a panel and referred to a bunch of noise coming from another room jokingly as a Holocaust. As I said then, it was a metaphor for Armageddon, death, and mass destruction, but not the Holocaust. Could I have chosen a different word? Sure, in retrospective I could have, and of course I am sorry that I offended anyone. I sincerely apologize to any convention staff members who ever felt I was anything less than kind and grateful to be included in their event. Unknown to most staffers, contractual arrangements made in advance with cons were occasionally not honored when I arrived that made me frustrated. That does not excuse making anyone feel badly, and I deeply feel sorry. Sorry, just some spit I need to swallow. I would also like to sincerely apologize to anyone who ever felt like my interactions with them, a hug or a kiss on the cheek or forehead, was crossing a line. Never in a million years would it be my intent to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Rather, it was meant to show gratitude of support. I come from an affectionate, expressive family where such displays are commonplace, but I understand that not anyone feels the same way. Hence, I will not be interacting in the same way with fans in the future. Understand this is a climate we live in now, and this is how it has to be. To my fans who ask me for hugs, etc., I'm sorry, but please know that I am no less grateful to or supportive of you. Finally, any allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, or more disturbingly pedophilia are completely and utterly false. My heart weeps for anyone who endures a violation of this kind, so to be assured of harming other in this way, I have no words. Sincerely, Vic Mignogna. So yeah, that was definitely a mouthful in terms of the things that he has stated. But since then, because of these allegations, you might have seen this circulate around on social media where, because of these allegations completely resurfacing because of Vic, there have been some hashtags and some movements that have begun where you would see the hashtag #KickVic starting to appear all around. And from there, just to read a bit from Polygon, just to read a little bit more into it, as more stories surfaced, the hashtag #KickVic started to circulate on Twitter. Leaked screenshots revealed that Mignogna took to the Discord for his private fan club, the Rissambull Rangers, last Saturday to encourage his fans to counter the accusations. The hashtag #IStandWithVic rose in response. And this is where we are today. We have seen... Oh, actually, you know what would be interesting? We also got a whole bunch of them that we actually got like a whole bunch of stories, but a good way to summarize about many of the situations, which I will get to later, but there is also another quote here from Polygon that is worth reading that would go more in depth about the situation with Vic Mignogna. It says, in addition to the sexual harassment claims, Mignogna's alleged homophobic behavior remains a concern with anime fans. While he says that he refused to sign fan art in general, convention goers argue that he would only deny signing pictures depicting characters in gay relationships, even if art wasn't sexually explicit, while he was happy signing other fan art. Organizers at conventions, meanwhile, shared stories of unprofessional behavior, such as overstaying his panel time and yelling at staffers. So that's currently the situation going on, is that Vic Mignogna is not necessarily the kind of person that you want at your conventions. And I have heard as well that there have been some flame wars going on between the Vic fans and the people from #KickVic, where people are fighting, apparently, that there are some supporters that say that, like, one is a liar and only they're telling the truth, and we got that kind of mess. And I just want to say right now, I do not doubt whatsoever about your experience with Vic. You can have a great experience where he presents himself as a great guy, or you can have a bad experience where he would present himself either as a dick or an absolute creep. Now, these are both correct, and I'm sure that with many different experiences, a lot of people's experiences would be unique, and especially with someone like Vic, you never know what you can get depending on who the person is. It really is a case on depending on who you ask regarding your kind of experience with this guy in particular. Okay, so with that said, I want to go into his statement, his response to all this, because honestly, I do feel like it is highly fascinating to dissect into a little bit. And one thing that I want to start out is to go a little bit in the defense of Vic Mignogna. And there's one thing that I don't feel like he actually is, and that's regarding the anti-Semitic claims. Now, that one, I do feel like it was that was a position, or that was a thing that really, it's more of a case of very poor choice of words instead of being an anti-Semitic claim. That honestly, I feel like that's just taking one little event and taking it to the extreme. So I think it really is a case where Vic Mignogna didn't handle the situation well because he didn't choose the right word. He shouldn't have used Holocaust or anything like that. So that was a bit of a bad move. I'm glad that he did apologize for that. So honestly, no, I don't think he's anti-Semitic. I think it's just a case of a bad choice of words. If he were anti-Semitic, you would hear a little bit more stories about that. But when it comes to the other claims about his homophobia or about his sexual misconduct and sexual harassment with congoers, Oh boy, what a mess that is. I don't think there's any way that he can defend that. Because, first of all, okay, the way, his defense that he is not homophobic, right here, okay, basically, the thing that he is trying to say is that, I'm not homophobic, some of my best friends are gay. Okay, that piece of crap right over there. Let me just go and start things off by saying that if you are accused of being a bigot of any form, never, and I mean never, ever, ever bring in your friend as a counter argument that you are not a bigot. Because it is very possible, in fact, more possible than it is impossible, that you could actually have a friend who is different than you in that way, but you are against what your friend stands for. It is very possible to be a bigot, but have that kind of friend at the same time. If you don't believe me, I could give you a few examples. Now, it is possible that you could be a men's rights activist or an anti-feminist, and you can have friends who are female. But because of your friends, that doesn't mean that you're not sexist. Or here's another one. Let's say that you're a nationalist. Now, it is possible that you can have friends who are of different ethnicities. You know, you can have black friends, you can have Asian friends, you can have Arab friends, you can have Hispanic friends. You can have a diversity of friends in your circles. But that doesn't mean that because of those friends, that doesn't mean you're not racist. And in the case of Vic Mignogna right over here, you can have friends that are a part of the LGBT community. You can have friends that are gay, that are bi, that are trans, that are, gay, lesbian, trans, bi. Okay, just want to make sure I get the letters right. I think Q is Q is questionable. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I don't got that right, but yeah, like you can have friends that are a part of the LGBTQ community. But because of those friends, that doesn't make you homophobic or transphobic or whatever. And especially when you're bringing your friend into this argument, you're putting that friend, honestly, you're doing such a disservice to your friend. Because for your friend, you no longer treat him as a person at that point. Now you're just using that friend as a get out of jail free card. You're pretty much trying to put it up and try to say, see, I got my friend here. You can't say that I'm a bigot. You can't say that I'm homophobic. See, that's my friend. He's gay. My friend is gay, so you can't say I'm a homophobe. That's massively disrespectful, not just to your friend, but to the community. Honestly, it makes you look worse. It kind of emphasizes that, yeah, you are a bigot in that way. And honestly, with that homophobic claim, yeah, that's honestly really dumb. And on top of that, okay, let's get into the aspect of the yaoi thing. Alright, now I will say right now, not signing yaoi art, that is honestly questionable for Vic. Because here's the thing. Now, I can understand if he refused to go and sign anything that's a little too extreme. If it's flat out hardcore yaoi pornography, then I can understand why he might choose not to go and sign it. Like, you don't really want to hand out someone to sign a fan art of Goku doing Vegeta in the butt where Vegeta looks back and said, "Yes, Goku, do me, stick your Kakarot in me." That's a bit too extreme. You don't want to do that. But if it's just the subtle things, if it's just kissing, if it's just holding hands, if it's snuggling, then honestly, why the fridge not would you want to sign? Like, why the fridge not sign it? I don't really see the point in that. And you know what? The funny thing is that he made things worse for himself because now he suggested something that is actually, like, his explanation for not signing yaoi art, it's honestly really stupid because he says, I also elected not to autograph yaoi, not because I am homophobic, but because I didn't wish to sign material that was not canon. What in the name of fridge are you talking about? What do you mean stuff that is not canon? I mean, here's the thing, like, if someone hands you a fan art of a crossover of all your different characters, then I wouldn't, honestly, I wouldn't see you hesitate to go and sign that. That would be, honestly, a little bit, like, why non-canon? Like, do you only agree, what do you mean by that? Do you only agree to sign things that are, like, officially canon to the things that you talk about? Are you really that devoted to the franchise? I mean, if you got your characters from Dragon Ball and Full Metal Alchemist just hanging out together, probably drinking a beer or something like that, like, you wouldn't mind signing it. I know that you would do that, Vic, no problem. But honestly, like, this is ridiculous. Like, honestly, you should have said, honestly, saying that, yeah, like, I don't sign yaoi fan art because I'm homophobic, that makes a lot more sense than saying, oh, I don't sign yaoi art because it's non-canon. What kind of fridge is that? That's so freaking stupid. Oh my god. This, honestly, I don't get it. That really makes no sense. But then you also got the sexual harassment and the sexual misconduct claims about the things that he has done to congoers. And I'm just going to tell you right now, in this article in Anime News Network, not only did they show a picture of the response that Vic Mignogna put out, but also there are several pictures that really do prove what he would do. Like, he would display it entirely. So these images here, you'll see it's a little bit disturbing. So just a fair warning. So apparently, yes, there have been there is actually photographical proof of what Vic Mignogna would do. Like, here's an example. So this is a 14-year-old girl with Vic Mignogna, and you see them hugging. Here's one part that's kind of disgusting. Look at his hand right over here. Look, like, you see his hand, like, he's hugging this, that's stated here, he's hugging a 14-year-old girl, and his arm is, like, sliding right down under the girl's jacket. Like, why would you even put your arm here? Nobody hugs this way. No, like, if someone is wearing a jacket, I cannot think of anybody who would want to hug you and try to get into your jacket. This is creepy. This is just flat out wrong. Okay, but wait, there is more. Okay, so, we also got another one. He's really close to the teenage girl. It's like his nose is, like, pressing on the teenage girl's cheek. So it's like, what are you doing, sir? It's like, and these eyes, oh god, these eyes. Last time someone had these eyes, Bill Cosby put some roofies on a girl's drink. Oh god, this is creepy right here. And then also, pow, right in the kisser, literally. And here he is just kissing the girl. This is, no. Why would you do this kind of thing? Why? And this is not it, and that's not all. This isn't just this. We also have a few other series. It's like, here's more pictures of him, like, creepily hugging underage girls. And, like, here's a number, like, somehow Vic Mignogna giving a girl his number for some reason. At the same time, we also got other pictures, him asking girls to kiss him, then him kissing girls. Yeah, more of this freaky thing. Oh yeah, this is okay. Yeah, this is what special guest stars at conventions do to their guests. Yeah, they do that. Yeah, well, no. Yeah, just grabbing the girl's shoulders, kissing her on the side. Yeah, that's not disturbing at all. What the fridge? Good God, what the fridge is wrong with you, Vic? What the hell is that? So yeah, there's you can't deny that he would do that. And I mean, I don't care what excuse that you would have for this. I don't care of the excuse that you would have for your reasoning why you would do this kind of behavior. You never do that, period. Even before the hashtag Me Too movement and all that kind of stuff. You don't do that to your con guests. You don't go way too close and personal, especially like when you know that, like, you know the intentions, like, especially when all these pictures, they show, like, these, like, there's a specific group of people that they would do that. If I would go if I would go and meet up to Vic Mignogna, I wouldn't expect him to hug me like that and to kiss me on the cheek. I wouldn't expect that at all. And I don't care about what your excuse is. There's no reason for you to go and uncomfortably hug guests like that. You know, there's no reason for you to go and hug guests and put your arm under someone's jacket and then kiss them on the cheek. You don't do that. You just don't do that freaking period to anyone. Especially, it's like you just met the person and they're no doubt about it, they're younger than you. Why would you go and kiss? It's ridiculous. It doesn't matter how you were raised. It doesn't matter the kind of family that you were with. You know that this is not the kind of behavior that you would do to strangers. It's ridiculous. You don't do that ever. This is just wrong. So yeah, honestly, yeah, you can get it. Like, I can give you a pass on the anti-Semitic thing. You're not anti-Semitic, Vic. But for God's sakes, the homophobia thing, yeah, you kind of proved it. Like, you yourself made it proof that you're not into gay people for sure. And also the sexual harassment things, yeah, no, don't. It's just, good God. Being unprofessional at a convention, yelling at staff, that's one thing. But, like, how you are treating young female congoers, that's just honestly sick. This, honestly, it's wrong, it's sick, and it's just flat out creepy. So, honestly, this really is a case that I think we need to get Vic Mignogna out of conventions, just period. But we don't have to do anything about it because if you have seen on social media, I have actually done a bit of research and I saw that, like, left and right, Vic Mignogna is getting away from conventions. Apparently, he had several Comic-Cons and several anime conventions that he would have been featured in, but he would actually distance himself. Like, he would actually cancel a whole bunch of those events. So there's pretty much this mass exodus of Vic Mignogna appearances from conventions right now because of this controversy. It's absolutely ridiculous, but yeah, overall, I have heard there are probably some stories regarding how his behavior also reflects upon how he would work in anime dubs, but I can guarantee right now that this is a man that should never be in a convention ever again, especially with this kind of behavior. Like, there's no doubt about it. This, honestly, I feel like it's hard for him not to prove otherwise that this is indeed a homophobic creep that is not necessarily respecting his fans the way that he should. This is just honestly wrong and disgusting. Now, I know that there are some people that, like even people right now are even stating that he should quit voice acting on Funimation and Rooster Teeth altogether. I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but honestly, I'm just saying that Vic should just distance himself from conventions. It's just separating him from the fans until he can learn about his freaking behavior. But this is just flat out wrong, honestly. All this is just absolutely wrong. So hopefully by spreading the word about this, we can understand about the stories that did occur, and I do hope for the best for many of the victims of Vic Mignogna, that they have grown to be a little bit wiser, they have grown to be a little bit better, and that they can move on from this controversial thing or this traumatic moment that they have had. It's just honestly a bit ridiculous. And yeah, honestly, for now, like, we cannot bring in, like, honestly, with his homophobic behavior and his creepy behavior, he should not be in conventions, especially if he's doing that towards 15 and 14-year-olds. It's just no. Just honestly don't. Really, just don't. Now, it's hard, really, what else to say about this, but yeah. Like, good God, what a mess of a person Vic Mignogna is. Okay, so, now that I have said that, I would like to go into the chat wall right over here, and I want to know about what you guys think about the whole controversy with Vic Mignogna. Do you support Vic Mignogna? Are you against him? Do you have any additional stories about Vic Mignogna? I would like to know what you guys believe. I want to know what you guys say. Okay, let's see. Honestly, no words here. All I could say from what he has been doing lately to what has been done now, all I can say with this is, here we go again. Seriously, what is wrong with people? It's like they never stop doing it, whatever it is they are doing. I mean, that's why we kind of need the hashtag Me Too movement, and like, we need these, we need these movements to keep on happening. We have to, like, honestly, if nobody would stop them, they'll just keep on going. That's why we need hashtag Me Too movements to go and tell them, to point them out in the hopes that they will finally stop, that when consequences are finally met. Let's see now. The only thing I could say at the moment is that I am so bloody disgusted by Vic Mignogna's actions, and I am so disappointed because he has done a lot of good voice acting for characters like Edward Elric. Is it Elric? Yeah, Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist, Broly from Dragon Ball Z, and Rohan Rishibe from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Let's see, what else do we have? I hate when people use "I work with gay people" to defend homophobic actions. I remember when Anjali Bhimani, the voice of Symmetra in Overwatch, wanted to hug me. She asked for permission, and I gladly accepted. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Let's see. I think Vic should watch something like Love, Simon or In a Heartbeat to loop until he could stop being homophobic. I don't know if that's going to help out, but I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, these allegations is getting more and more concerning about my future of becoming either a voice actor or an animator. I am a straight man, but I know for a fact that I need to control myself amongst not just women, but not just women, but anyone in general, and treat people rather than their sexuality or gender. I try my best to make sure I can be as friendly as much as possible and meet and greet people as a normal human being should. The thing is that, like, if you're really concerned about, like, the only reason why you should be concerned is only if you have done those actions. If you have done any sexual misconducts, if you have treated any women wrong, rather it be physically or even abusively or anything like that, like, if you haven't done any of that, you should be fine. Like, honestly, I'm okay. I know I haven't done anything wrong to women, and anything I would do with women, like, as a straight guy, it's all 100% consent. So I'm in the clear. I have nothing that's going to go against me. So I'm perfectly fine. So I'm not worried about anything with the hashtag Me Too movement or anything like that. I fully support it. So that's the thing. The only reason, I think Idris Elba said it best, the only reason why you would be worried about the hashtag Me Too movement is if you did something wrong and that the movement will get you next for what you did in the past. So just a little heads up on that. Let's see now. I am against Vic concerning that he is creepy, that he does that to underage girls. Insert Flapjack scream. Alright, so I think with all that, though, I think we're pretty much, all good. Yeah, looks like I gotta need a shower. This news story made me dirty. Yeah, I think we all need to wash ourselves after that mess of a news, after reading about that guy. But I think with all that said, I think that should be all good for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And before I go, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up, considering that we are all animation fans. I am currently recording this as I am doing this live. This is February 2nd, so I just want to give you all a heads up that tonight is the biggest night in animation. It is, of course, the Annie Awards. And if you guys want to go and watch it live, you can go to annieawards.org and you can go check it out there. There is a page where you can actually see it happening live. The show will be going on between 7 p.m. Pacific time. No, not between, but it starts at 7 p.m. Pacific time and 10 p.m. Eastern. So, yeah, for someone like me in the Eastern Coast, it is extremely late. But this is definitely something that I highly recommend you guys go and watch. And tune in next week as well, where I will be talking about my thoughts on the winner of the Annie Awards. So with all that said and done, I just want to say thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, see you later, dudes!